Here we are, guys. Second to last episode of season one. Chuck versus the Undercover Lover. We're getting it. We're getting it, guys. We're moving about, moving along, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. We're really pushing forward, and it's becoming a lot of fun. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to. So we got a important episode to analyze. But first, I'm gonna do what I usually do: go through the thank yous and stuff. Chuckaholics, all you guys out there listening to this podcast, keeping me true to posting. The people who have given me suggestions, I've tried to take those to heart because everybody has room for improvement. I'm just sitting here trying to make a better podcast for you guys. It's the goal. It's the main goal is to make a better podcast for you guys. Because you listen. You take time out of your day to listen to me talk about Chuck. Least I could do is repay you with a great podcast. So let's do that. Also, if you follow me on Twitter or you follow a bunch of the Chuck stars on Twitter, which I'm sure you guys do because why not? But Sarah Lancaster, who plays Ellie on the show, is doing a walk for Alzheimer's, or I think Alzheimer's or ALS, one of the two. But you should go check that out and donate. I think I've decided I'm going to do a what I want to do. What I'm going to do is for every episode, for every download of this episode, I'm going to donate 5 cents towards the charity. So let's get this downloaded a lot, hundreds of times. Let's get that download up so I can donate more money. This is for you guys. So, like I said, share it with everybody. Share the podcast with everybody. Be like, hey, you download and listen to this. This guy's going to donate some money to charity. And I wish it would be more than 5 cents, but I'm a broke college student, so this is the best I can do. But I do want to help. So, let's do this. All right. With all the housekeeping stuff out of the way, let's move on to the episode at hand. Let's take care of it. All right, guys. So here we go. Chuck versus the Undercover Lover. Now, this is one of those episodes where we get more I guess, backstory and character development of someone else on Team Bartowski besides Chuck and Sarah. The first 11 episodes have been mostly about Chuck, some about Sarah. Nothing really about Casey. We finally get a little bit Casey. I guess you could say Chuck versus a Crown Vic. We got a little bit of Casey, but this is more, I guess. We get to learn more about Casey, which is good because he's a great character, and you just need to know what he's doing. You need to know what he's done, even though you can pretty much guess it's just been murdering people straight up, bang, 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 because that's what he does best, is murder people. So we'll get to him and Ilsa Trinkovic. I think I said that right. Trinkina? Yeah, I think it was Trinkina, actually. Sorry, I don't know why I said the wrong name. But anyway, we will get to them later in the episode. But first, we're going to start off like we usually do with the two strong segments: hit of the episode, song of the episode. So, let's begin with hit of the episode of Chuck versus the Undercover Lover. Alright, now, again, this is one of the episodes that didn't really have any action till the end, but once the action kicked in, there was a lot of action. I mean, we saw that in Crown Vic too. But anyway, now Casey and Chuck are sitting there tied up. But as any Russian bad guy knows, they forgot to tie up the legs. Because Russian bad guys in movies, TV shows, always seem to forget to tie up the legs. I don't understand why. That's like that's rule number one, man. You tie up their legs so they can't get up. And what do they do? What did they forget to do? Tie up their legs. It's just at this point it's just a cliche for Russian bad guys. But anyway, they Casey stands up, pulls Chuck up with him, and they fight the bad guys. And this week, I honestly, my favorite hit was when Chuck kicked that guy in the face. But that wasn't on his own power. Casey swung him around so he could hit that guy. So that's why we have our very first shared hit of the week. We have the very first shared hit of the week. This week, it goes to Chuck and Casey for the spinning kick to the face, because that was awesome and it was badass. So there you have it, guys. Congratulations to Zach Levi as Chuck and Adam Baldwin as John Casey. You won Chuck versus the Undercover Lovers hit of the week, hit of the episode. Scoreboard update for those. Casey has 5, Sarah has 3, and Chuck has 2 so far. And we only have 1 episode this season, so it's looking like Adam Baldwin's going to pull this season out. He's going to win this season's hit of the episode, or complete total hit of the episode. Yeah, but who knows? Sarah may have 2 incredible punches to the face next week. So you never know. You never know. You never know who's going to win. But right now, Casey's got a pretty good lead going into the final lap. So there's that. And that's it of the episode, guys. Time to delve into the next segment that we all love. Song of the episode. Alright, song of the episode. Not much original music. I mean, the score in this episode was more of a like Chuck music, like not like songs written by other bands, but like just like small like transition music, written by, I guess, the music department on the show or something or whatever. But the one part that made me laugh very hard was the part with Casey coming out of the pool after him and Chuck fell in, which I will get to right after this, because if I don't remember that, I'll forget later in the episode. But that pool scene, I'll get on right after this. Anyway, so when Casey's walking out of the pool, none other than the love guru himself, Neil Diamond, starts playing. And that song is called Love on the Rocks, as Casey's walking out of the pool to save Ilsa. And I just busted out laughing at that part. It's just so funny. So that's my choice this week. That's my song of the week. It's Love on the Rocks by Neil Diamond, because it's a good song. Neil Diamond's always a good one. Just ask Silverman if you can save him. It's a good, like I said, it's a good song. Neil Diamond's a good artist, but just that the whole show around that song was just outstandingly hilarious, just funny as hell. So that's there you got it. Song of the episode. So let's dive into the episode at hand, boys and girls. Let's women and men, bi morons and chucksters. Nah, you're not bi morons. You guys are bi morians. Love you guys. We got a little bit of good topics coming up. Oh yeah, all right. So the pool scene. I get that it's a TV show, and I can pretty much forego a lot of things just because, uh, I know it's a TV show. I just want to laugh sometimes, and the pool scene made me laugh, obviously, but I just had a problem with them falling all that way into a pool that they're not just gonna get right out, no matter how deep it is. Just I was not feeling that part, even though I know it's a TV show. I just went a little far on that one. So that's my opinion. But that's this week's ask, or that's this week's express your opinion. The past couple episodes, I've been having people express their opinions to me on Twitter, or Chuckaholics, anywhere about certain parts of an episode. This episode, I want to know: did you have a problem with them just being fine, popping out of the pool after following all that story? Like I said, I can usually just forget things like that just because it's a TV show, but I don't know. I just had a little bit of a problem with that part. So I want to hear your opinion. Send it to me on Twitter at ChuckRewatch33 or on the Intersect Project podcast page on Chuckaholics or the Intersect Project podcast page on the Chuck Wiki. That's right, we're on the Chuck Wiki. So send me your opinions, guys. I really do want to hear your opinions on stuff. So let's delve into all the fun episodes at hand. Now, this episode is all about Casey. Casey and his former lover, Ilsa Trinkia. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that fake last name right because she's not Russian. It's not a spoiler because it was in this episode. She's not Russian. She's French. Although her French accent sounds really American. Come on. Come on. But anyway, episode opens up and we see John Casey having a flashback about Ilsa as she dies. Blows up. He thinks she's dead. He's looking at a camera and he's about to bawl. He looks like he's about to bawl, and you don't see that from Casey. You don't. But he is. And what does the customer do? Gets mad at John Casey, the guy who could murder him with his thumb. So who has to come rescue the customer? Chuck. Welcome to Buy More. How can we save you from our employees killing you today? Should be the motto at this point. So I mean, obviously, we have a little problem in Casey's world. Chuck has no idea. No idea. So, what does he do? He pursues the topic. And he pursues it after finding out that former lover of John Casey is at the Seville with the other Russian bad guys. Which, why? You'd think some federal agency would be aware that a bunch of Russian bad guys have just decided to have a party at a hotel in Los Angeles. Hopefully. I mean, you'd hope they'd notice. So, I mean, anyway. So, obviously, Chuck decides to, I guess, keep touching that sore wound. Keep opening that wound. Because he's Chuck and knows no better. And he doesn't know that she had died. And I put died in quotation marks because, as we saw, she actually didn't die. So, as Chuck keeps pursuing the topic, what does Casey do? Does what Casey does best. Picks him up by the throat, puts him against the wall. Because he, Chuck's pretty light, I guess. A little skinny man. But, anyway, so they have to go talk to, Beckman about all the bad guys at the Seville and whatnot. They have to go infiltrate the party or whatever. So Chuck goes and tells Sarah about Ilsa. But at this point, Sarah knows about Ilsa because she knows a lot about her partner. I'm sure she has to like read up on his partner and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure she knows of him. But when what I found odd was when she goes over there, she she tries to get him to try the new uh what is it called, the breakfast corn dog or whatever, and he turns her down to try it, and she actually kind of looks disappointed, which I thought was really weird and funny at the same time. She has this look on her face. She's like, well, dang, I really wanted you to try this corn dog. Why wouldn't you try it? And of course, it's because he's like, hey, yo, Ilsa's at the Seville. And she's like, oh, okay, that's cool. But she had like a legitimate look of disappointment on her face when Chuck was like, nah, I don't want to try the corn dog. And I don't know, I just found that weird. So anyway, they get there. Chuck talks to Sarah and finds out that Ilsa's actually dead. Or, well, that Ilsa had died in an explosion. And that turns out to be false. Like, pretty immediately, we find out that she's still alive. But they have to infiltrate this bad guy party, this Russian bad guy party. Which, if you don't know, this is like the most stereotypical Russian bad guy party ever. It's like dancing, vodka everywhere, crazy Russians everywhere. Just your typical crazy Russian bad guy party. You know, I mean, we've all been to them. We've all been to the Russian bad guy parties. I mean, they're a hoot and a half sometimes, most of the times. But sometimes they're just a little out of hand, and you got to do something about it. And sometimes they get so out of hand that a Russian touches your booty, as it was in the case with Sarah. And she was having none of that man touching her caboose. And she broke his hand and spoke Russian to him, which is impressive because I don't even know Russian. I mean, what's the deal with that? Why does everybody know Russian all of a sudden? No, I mean, it's just cool. She's asserting her dominance in a male-dominated world, which is cool because women are the bomb diggity and can do everything a man can. You know, all that equal stuff, equal rights stuff. Because go women, why not? So obviously they find out Ilsa's not dead, and Casey finds this out the hard way by trying to go save Chuck and Sarah, and who does he run into? Ilsa, a ghost from the past. And he's considerably just like, what just happened? What am I looking at? And it freaks him out. I mean, who wouldn't be freaked out? You thought this woman that you loved was exploded into thousands of pieces and dead for 4 years, and all of a sudden she turns up and she is marrying a Russian bad guy. What else? Why would that not freak anybody else out? That would just be, I would probably be speechless for like days. After that, I'd be like, what's happening? I would be a bumbling buffoon. Legit. A bumbling buffoon. So, what does Chuck try to do? He tries to appeal to Casey's emotional side to get the story behind the two, because Chuck is dumb. He tries to get Casey to express emotions, which we find out that Casey has emotions in this episode for things besides his car. He has emotions. He's not dead, and we get easily the best quote of the season because of Chuck's persistence in pursuing Casey's emotional side. He's pursuing Casey's emotional side in the break room, and Casey finally divulges some details about him and Ilsa, how they met in a flower shop and all that jazz. And what does Chuck do? Turns around and the wonderful line from Frankenstein. It's alive! It's perfect. It's just hilarious, and I laughed extremely hard at that every time. I laugh extremely hard at that every time because that's easily my favorite line of season 1. And that's after the line that's after the quote, what does no tang mean no work? I mean, that's a great line, but It's Alive, just based on circumstances alone, wins it, and it is perfectly hilarious. It beats it, and it's funny. It's funny. So obviously, Chuck and Casey decide to go, or Chuck convinces Casey to go pursue Ilsa once more time. Once more, not once more time. What kind of grammar am I saying? But anyway, so they go back to Seville, where Sarah is doing a stakeout. Trying to find out what them Russian bad guys be doing. Russian bad guys. So obviously they get found, and they have to help stake out. And what do they see? Ilsa alone at the bar, but the night before her wedding. Something's up in that marriage. Something's up in that future marriage. So Chuck convinces Casey to go pursue her down there at the bar, and he does. And at that point, Sarah has to dispose of a bad guy, and she needs Casey to plant the bug in the room. And guess what? Casey's not there. So who has to plant the bug in the room? Chuck. And we get Chuck's terrible French waiter accent. Oui, bonjour, mademoiselle. S'il vous plaît, s'il vous plaît. Just under his breath, mumbling French words, knocking on the door. And it's so bad, it's funny, but it's so bad he even looks up and he's like, what am I doing? Why would I even do it? It's terrible. It's just terrible. So he gets in the room, tries to place the bug, but someone's coming in. And who is it? Ilsa and John. Making out. Going on the bed. Wow. So we know what they're gonna do. And Chuck breaks spy rule 101, silencing his phone. Not silencing his phone. Come on, Chuck. I know you're not like a legitimate spy, but you've been a spy for, at this point, at least a few months, it seems like. It's past Christmas, so it's been more than a few months. It's been like 4 or 5, maybe 6 months. I mean, come on. You gotta know at that point to silence your phone. That's Spy 101. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Anyway, what does the bad guy do? Big old Russian bad guy comes in and tries to sleep with Ilsa while Casey and Chuck are under the bed. And what does Casey do? He's gonna shoot him. And then Chuck goes, "Hey, don't shoot. Who's on top?" And that's a fair point. You never know with them Russians who's on top and who's on bottom. And so he doesn't shoot, obviously. But we find out she's a French spy. She's marrying the bad guy to get some intel so they can send him to prison. And that the bad guys have been spying on him. So Chuck and Casey go to save the day. And Sarah has to go save them. But before she goes to save him, she goes to Chuck's apartment first. And what does she find there? A distraught Ellie. So now I'm going to go from the Team Bartowski Ilsa all to the Buy More and Ellie and Awesome. And we will come back to Team Bartowski and Ilsa at the Seville where they're rescuing her after the new topics. So before we go to the before we go past the heart to heart with Sarah, we which really a heart to heart is, I would say it's not really a heart to heart. It's more of a Ellie confessing that she's afraid that she's chosen the wrong guy, and Sarah listening. And this is really Sarah's big introduction to the Bartowski family. I mean, you had her on Mother's Day, so she got introduced to that tradition, the Mother's Day tradition. And but this is really her first interaction with someone in the family besides Chuck in a emotional way, I guess. And it's what really starts this like attachment, I guess is what you could call it, to the family, and what helps Chuck. Spoiler alert, sorry. But anyway, so so we'll start at the beginning with Ellie. Ellie, Awesome, and Morgan in the Buy More. So it's Ellie and Awesome's anniversary, and they go to the Buy More to buy a present because they're making some more money now because they're fancy doctors, and so they want to splurge a little bit and get a big wedding, or not wedding, a big anniversary present. Sorry. So they go to the Buy More, obviously, to get help from Chuck, but Chuck's not there, so they have to get help from somebody else. And they were going to get help from Jeff and Lester, which would have been a terrible, terrible idea. So they get help from Morgan, and guess what? They have no idea. They can't decide on what they actually want. Awesome wants a washer and dryer, and Ellie wants a big old TV, which is the opposite of what you'd think it would be. And we see a little bickering between the two. Can't really agree on this, but Ellie has to go to surgery, so she trusts Awesome to pick the right anniversary present. Wrong thinking, because he picks the wrong anniversary present. He does what any guy would do in that situation, and he picks what he wants. And she gets upset about it, obviously. And so they have a lover's quarrel at that point, where she thinks she will never be first in his life. It'll be extreme sports and working out and doing jock stuff will come first in his life, and she'll come second. And she doesn't want that in her future. And Awesome is just like, no, that's not what it is at all. I like working out and stuff. And so who counsels them in this dire time of relationship advice, need for relationship advice? Morgan, the guy you want counseling you. And I'll give Morgan credit where credit is due. He does a pretty good job. I mean, he helps for sure. He doesn't like ruin it like you'd think he ruined it because she like freaks out about Awesome, but really it's just like self-realization more than it is Morgan. And anyway, so Sarah has that heart to heart, but she has to go save Chuck and Casey, obviously. So who gives the real heart to heart? Morgan, the one guy that Ellie hates because Morgan loves her, and she finds it creepy. Anyway, so they have a heart to heart. She's drunk, and they go to bed together. More like Morgan lays her down to go to bed, and he just stays there just in case she needs somebody to talk to, which I think is nice. And so they sleep through the night there, and she wakes up. She's freaking out. She's like, "Did we do anything?" And he's like, "No, I would never take advantage of you like that." Because Morgan, while being an idiot at many times, he's not a terrible person like that. He would never take advantage of somebody like that. So Ellie thanks him. I mean, he did help, and that's it's a spoiler what I'm about to say, but it's not like a spoiler that'll ruin plots and stuff. But I mean, this is a good episode for their relationship because their relationship starts to go on the up and up from here. Just it gets a little more positive for them, and it's nice to see them enjoying each other's company and working together and whatnot. But what is awesome to do? He comes back and he's like, "Babe, I bought the TV. I realized I was being dumb and stupid, but my name's Captain Awesome and I have a heart of gold. So here's your TV." And he doesn't just buy the TV to make her happy. He realizes what mistake he made. He's like, "Yeah, I realize what you were thinking." I was like, "Don't worry, you are number one in my life, etc., all that stuff." And it's just awesome because awesome is awesome, and he's got a heart of gold, and his heart of gold is all for Ellie. And how does he realize that? Strip poker at the Bymore. Yeah. A bunch of the guys at the Bymore play strip poker. It's weird, but hey, I mean, to each his own. That's what they do for fun. Anyway, let's finish the episode at hand. Anyway, they go to save Ilsa. Chuck and Casey going to save Ilsa. They don't. They get caught. They like I said, they escape because Russian bad guys always forget to tie up legs, and they save Ilsa in the day with a Mexican standoff of guns. Bing, bang, bang, bang. Which is always a good way to end a episode with a Mexican standoff. And Ilsa makes it. She goes away. She goes back to France, go back undercover. And Chuck's there to spy on Casey and Ilsa's last contact. And it's terrible spying. He still has learned nothing, it seems, of spying. So that's oh, also I wanted to mention while Sarah was looking to go save the day at the Seville, when she was talking to the bad guys, she wasn't saying, "Hey, where's Chuck and Casey? Where are the two guys you got tied up?" She's screaming, "Hey, where's Chuck? Where is Chuck?" She's starting to get this emotional attachment to him. You're starting to see that she likes Chuck. At this point, I don't think it's a spoiler. I mean, we all saw her kiss Chuck for sure. That was all her. So she definitely likes Chuck. You can at this point, it's a known fact. She really likes Chuck, and it's awesome. Well, I mean, boys and girls, by Morians, Chucksters, people of the future. If you listen to this in the future, I mean, that's this is the end of the episode. But I find that interesting that in like 200 years from now, somebody could be listening to this. It's weird to me, but it's cool at the same time. Like, I'm talking about a show that ended in 2012 right now in 2014 as a rewatch. In 200 years, some kid or some 20-year-old or some adult is going to pick up Chuck and be like, "Whoa, this show is really cool," and he's going to go find out everything he can about it. And he or she is going to stumble across this podcast and be like, "Whoa, Chuck Rewatch podcast. Awesome." And it'll be 2214, the year 2020, the year 2214, and somebody will be listening to this podcast 200 years after I released it. It's just weird to me. That's cool. Anyway, like I said, see you in the episode, boys and girls. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChuckRewatch33. Don't forget to send me your opinions about the pool, the pool scene. Did you like that part, or was it like just too glaringly obvious to forgive, like in my opinion, or do you have another opinion about it? Like I said, share it with me on Twitter or the Intersect Project podcast page on on Chuckaholics or on the official Chuck Wiki. like I said, we have a page on the official Chuck Wiki. Thank you to the founder of Chuckaholics for that. He created the wiki page. Also, like I said, for every download of this specific episode, I'm going to donate 5 cents to Sarah Lancaster's charity for her walk for charity, which I think is either Alzheimer's or ALS. For some reason, I can't remember. And I think that's about it, boys, men and women. Called you boys and girls enough. You guys are men and women. Men and women. All right. That does it for Chuck versus the Undercover Lover. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I certainly had a lot of fun recording this. Remember, everybody loves Chuck. Some people just don't know it yet.